Exchange Server Subscription Editions brings a new set of technologies, features, and services to Exchange Server, the messaging platform that provides email scheduling and tools for custom collaborations and messaging service applications. Its goals it's to support people and organizations as their work habits evolve from a communications focus to a collaborations focus. At the same time, exchange subscription editions helps lower to total cost of ownership whether you deploy exchange subscription edition on premises or provision your mailbox in the cloud. Exchange Server Subscription Edition requires a 64-bit CPU with TPM 2.0 and a model processor 2017 or newer. The operating system must be Windows Server 2025, Windows Server 2022, Windows Server 2019 standard or data center editions. Minimum memory requires with 16 GB being a suggested minimum for a single server installations, while the mailbox role can be required 128 GB or more. You will need at least 30 GB of free disk space for the installations drive plus additional space for database and logs. Hardware requirement for Exchange Server. First, processors. There are two types of processors should be required for the Exchange Server deployment. First, Intel processor that support Intel 64-bit architecture, formerly known as a Intel EM64T. And second processor is AMD processor that support the AMD 64 platform. Most important, you should knowledge about this and notes should be keep in your mind. Intel Intium IA64 processor are not supported for Exchange Server deployment. Now, second step is memory. If you want to deploy the mailbox in your Exchange Server, the mailbox should be minimum 128 GB. And if you have a much more RAM in your system, that is sufficient for a mailbox. Exchange Server has large memory support up to 256 GB. And if you want to deploy the exchange transport edge transport role, you have minimum requirement should be assigned 64 GB minimum recommended as per Microsoft. Now friends, most important step is paging file size. Set the paging file minimum and maximum value to the same size, 25% of install memory. And if you have a plan for Exchange Server deployment, the disk space at least 30 GB of free space on the drive while you are installing the Exchange Server, at least 200 MB of free space on the system drive, at least 500 MB of free space on the drive that contain the message coins database, and screen resolution is 1024 into 768 pixel XGA or higher resolution that is sufficient for Exchange Server deployment. Most important, file system. The interface required on a partition that contain the following types of files: the system partitions, Exchange binaries, file generated by the Exchange diagnostic logging, transport database files, for example the mail coins database. REFS support on a partitions that contain the following types of Exchange files: mailbox database, transactions logs, transport database files, for example the mail coins database. Friends, whenever you plan for Exchange Server deployment, you must be install Exchange Server only on MAMO server, not to domain controller, because if you want to plan for Exchange Server on your domain controller, because Active Directory machine and your Exchange Server both are very critical machine. In case if AD is down, then Exchange Server also will be down automatically, because Exchange work only on AD based technology. So make sure whenever you fix the plan for Exchange Server deployment, you must be installed only on Mammoth server. Friends, there are the basic requirement for Exchange Server deployment. First, static IP address must be configured on both server machine and should have communicate with each other in network. Second, existing Microsoft Windows Server must be installed both services such as Active Directory Domain Services and DNS Server. Number third, Function label must be higher in your primary domain control machine. Fourth, existing server must be enabled global catalog. Fifth, supported operating system for Exchange Server 2019 via subscription edition deployments are Windows Server 2019, Windows Server 2022, Windows Server 2025. Just create Exchange Server user account in a primary domain controller, and that user must be member of schema admins, enterprise admins, and domain admins. Number 7 is install Exchange Server only on member server, and domain should be join. These are the seven basic steps. You should also follow these steps for the Exchange Server deployment. IP address configuration and domain join. DNS server install and configure both zones on member server. Install Exchange Server Subscription Edition's Mailbox Service tools by PowerShell. Install of Unified Communication Manage API 4.0 runtime. Install of Visual C distributable for Visual Studio 2013 and Visual Studio 2015. Install of Microsoft Web Platform 5. Install of IIS URL rewrite module 2. Install Net Framework 4.8.1 Web Installer. Insert the DVD of Microsoft Exchange Server Subscription Edition setup. Prepare schema. Prepare Active Directory. Prepare domain. Run the final steps of Exchange Server subscription edition setup installations.